Good day, everyone. So, enough of the basics. Let's begin to do some actual fun stuff with Node.js. I hope you guys are getting pretty comfortable with your terminal. On the desktop folder, let's go ahead and create our work environment for the introduction period. So, create a new folder and name it Node Basics, and go ahead and save that. And now we would not be using command prompt anymore. Visual Studio has inbuilt a terminal that we'll be using. So our code editor I mentioned made things easier. Visual Studio is one good one, and it also includes a terminal, so you don't have to move from your code environment to command prompt or to your terminal environment. So let's go ahead and power up our Visual Studio code. So you can find the terminal up here, and you can just create a new terminal. When you create a new terminal, you can see that we are in our user folder. You can go ahead and navigate from there into desktop, which is we are changing directory to desktop, and we are on our desktop now. We can go ahead and print what we have on the desktop, and we can see we have the Node Basics folder that we have created. Let's go ahead and just navigate into that Node Basics folder also, Node Basics, and we can see that we're in the Node Basics folder. And if we type ls, we can see that there's nothing in there at the moment. So today we are going to be learning about something called variables. Variables are entities that can take on different values. Anything that can vary can be called a variable. An example of a variable would be a name. A name can be David, a name can be Andrew, a name can be Johnson, a name can be a lot. And also age. Age is also something that can vary. Age can be 20, age can be 21, age can be 23 at different points in time. So to get started with variables, let's go ahead and create a new file called variable.js. The .js there is like our extension, and we are going to be creating that in the Node Basics folder. So to create a new file, let's just go ahead and click File at the top left. Then we click on New File. When we click on New File, we can see that we have it here. So in our new file, let's just go ahead and console.log hello world as we had the last time. So we have written our hello world in our new file. I think it's important to first save the file. You see, well, if we save, you can save with Ctrl S, and I'll be saving to my desktop and into the Node Basics folder, and I'll be naming it variable.js actually, variables.js. So if I go ahead and save that, you can notice that my code has been formatted. So it has formatted this, and we can see that we are console.log something. So let's go ahead and run our variables.js script. We just have to type node, then variables.js. We can see that it's printed out hello world to the screen. So now variables, let's create a new variable called hello. We want to greet somebody, so we are creating hello as a variable. To create a variable, you have to use the var keyword, var. Var is the short form for variables, and it's pronounced var. You just have to type var, then the name of your variable. The name of our variable will be hello for this time, hello, and you name hello into hello world. Now rather than console.log this test, you can just go ahead and say console.log the hello variable. Now you can see that we have taken off the string because this is a variable. The variable is already equal to a string, and you just have to console that to the string, to the screen. So if you go ahead and run node variables.js again, you see that we still have hello world. Now this hello variable can take different forms. We can change that to hello David and still go ahead and run our node variables.js, and we can see it prints out hello David to the screen. When you are declaring variables which are strings or any variables at all, we can print out anything. We can just say variable name is equal to David is equal to David. Then we put a semicolon. The importance of this semicolon is you have to use the semicolon to end an instruction line. In most programming languages, you have to end, they call it the termination character. You use it to end. So variable hello is equal to hello David, and you end that instruction. Then you also say variable name is equal to David. You end that instruction. Then you go ahead to print out hello, and you get hello printed. Let's go ahead and print out name also. So console.log name. If we go ahead to run that, we can see that we have hello David when we print out hello, and we have David when we print out name. We can also create variables which are numbers. We can just say variable my number or variable age is equal to 20, and we can just console.log age, which prints out age to the screen. So now one thing that bears noticing is how we name our, let me go ahead and delete all of this. So we just go ahead with naming conventions. We have to know how to name our variables. To name a variable, you can just, like I said, you just put the var key, then the name of your variable. We have used name, we have used hello, we have used age. You can create variables by using any character at all, whether in capital letter. It can begin with capital letter, it can begin with small letter. So we can say variable a is equal to 1, then we end the instruction. We can say variable b is equal to 2, then we also end the instruction. Another thing we can use to name variables is it can begin with the underscore sign, and we can say underscore followed by something. So it has to be underscore followed by something. As we can just say is equal to 5. Then we can also say variable, you can use the money sign, the dollar sign, followed by something else. Er is equal to 12. You cannot begin naming a variable with 1. It's not going to work. And with our code editor, it tries to point you to where you have gotten errors. So if you try to name a variable with starting from a number, it would not work, as well as any other character. So these are the only ways. You cannot say you are starting a variable with quote and it's not going to work. So these are the only ways you should name your variable. Anything that comes in between can be followed. You can say your variable b1, you can name it as that. Let's go ahead and do that down here. You can say variable b1. You can name variables like that. Anything can come after a variable, but to start a variable you have to start with either a capital letter, and in JavaScript is mostly case sensitive, so var a is equal to 1. The a in capitals might be different from var a in small letter is equal to 2. So it's worth noticing that whenever you are naming something in JavaScript, you should be mindful of the case you are using. Is it capital or is it small letter? So let's go ahead and print all these things out to be sure that it works. We can just console.log. Console.log capital A first, and let's go ahead and run our node variable.js. So I didn't save. I have to save first. You have to save before running it in the terminal. So you see, when I ran console.log a, it displayed 1. If I change this to the small a and I run node variables.js, you see that the value changed from 1 to 2. So you can see that the capital A is different from the small a. So now if we go ahead and console.log b, we can see that it gives us 2 also, because we declared b to be 2. If we change that to underscore as and we save that and we run our node variables.js again, you can see that it's equal to 5. If we go ahead to use the money sign underscore er as we have declared and we save that, and we go to node variables.js, it gives us 12. And also finally the b2 is supposed to give us 13. So we can see that we have our variables printing out nicely. You can also reassign a variable. For example, let's remove all of this. Let's maintain only var a is equal to 1. You can reassign a variable that is 2. Now we can console.log a. Then we can later now say, after we declared a to be 2 and you have printed a as 2, you can now say a is equal to, then you can just say no longer 2. So now what we are doing here is we declared a as 2, we printed a at that point, then we now said a is equal to no longer 2. Now at this point we don't need the var again, we don't need the var keyword, because we have already declared a before. We are now reassigning a, so we just say a is equal to whatever we want a to take on. So now if you go ahead, let's first print out the new a. So we can just say, or let's just copy this, you can just say console.log a and we paste it here. Then we try to run that. Node variables.js. So you can see here that we have node variable.js give us 2 initially, then later we printed out a again and it said it's no longer 2. So that's that on variables. Over time we'll be using it a lot and you'll be getting more comfortable with it. Let's go ahead into strings. A string is anything that comes in between a code. for this, let's create a new. We have used strings over here. A is equal to no longer 2 is a string because it's enwrapped in strings. We can just go ahead to create a new file. We create a new file, then let's go ahead and save that as strings.js. So we can see that we have our variable.js here. Let's go ahead and save that into string.js. Strings are anything that are written inside single quotes or double quotes, and strings can be anything at all. Strings can be like we had var name is equal to Andrew. That's a string. So we have declared a variable and we have said our variable is equal to a string. You understand? We can also say var id number id. Let's just say var id is equal to ab1234. So your string can take the form of anything at all. You see, we have used single quotes here and we have used double quotes here. Anything that is inside either a single quote or a double quote is a string, and but for it's preferred you use this one. Just use this one for the meantime, unless you need this one for anything at any point. So you can go ahead and print out string variables by just saying console.log then the name of the string, the name of the variable. So if you go ahead and run this, I saved. Okay, so I have to change now. I'm running strings.js, rather strings.js, and you can see that our strings.js prints out Andrew to the string. Now let's go ahead and learn what they call concatenation. Concatenation is just the process of adding something to something. We'll be using that a lot in software development. For example, a good example and a real example is we want to have a first name variable, we want to have a last name variable, so we have declared two variables, variable first name and variable last name. Now we want to have a variable full name also. Now ideally the full name is supposed to be first name then last name with a space in between if you want to display this person's full name. This person with Andrew as first name and the person with Johnson as last name. So first of all, let's delete this and just go ahead to console.log the first name. Go ahead and save that and you run your strings.js and you can see we have Andrew printed out to the screen. You can also go ahead and console.log the last name. And we can see Andrew Johnson, which displays the first name and last name in the order that we have told it to. So the easy way to do things would just be to just say, rather than declaring variables, we can just say, oh, Andrew Johnson, or we can declare full name over here as Andrew Johnson. These are something we can do with strings. You can just console.log a string, and you can also declare it like this, but it always does not work that way. If we go ahead and print this out, you can see it will just print out Andrew Johnson to the screen because we have console.log the string at Andrew Johnson. So sometimes you might not have imagined a form that asks you to input your first name differently and last name differently. We need to do something like a concatenation to be able to get this full name rather than do it like this, and we are going to do that programmatically. So variable full name ideally would be full name, then in JavaScript you concatenate using plus, then you can just say full name plus last name, then you end your statement. If you go ahead to print full name now, and you save this and you run, okay, so what I did here was I made a mistake. I printed out full name when full name does not exist. So what I was supposed to write here is supposed to be first name plus last name. When you are writing your code, you definitely come across errors. Those errors should not make you go and sleep. You have to continue, look back into your code, see what might be causing the error, try to figure it out, go online, search for, if it's some serious error, you can just go online and check for where the error might be coming from. So I found my error, which is I put full name, so full name was telling me undefined. So now if I go ahead and run strings.js, I can see I get Andrew Johnson. Now it's joined together, so we need a space. So what do we do in that case? We just have to, in between here and here, you just put, let's rewrite it all from the beginning again. We have a variable first name, so we just go ahead and type first name, then plus. We want to add an empty space, so we go ahead and create a string in between here, and we put a space in between the string, then we go ahead and add the last name to it. So if we go ahead and console.log full name now, we should have Andrew Johnson with space in between. So I think that'll be all for this video. See you in the next video. In the next video, we'll be talking about a couple more fun stuff. Thank you.